Hello, and welcome to Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, the captivating travel podcast that takes you on an extraordinary adventure around the world. I'm your host, Jill Dutton, and I am thrilled to be your guide through the mesmerizing tapestry of cultures, landscapes, and experiences that await us. Global Journeys with Jill Dutton is more than just a travel podcast. It's an exploration of humanity itself. Through the power of storytelling, we'll illuminate the lives of the remarkable individuals we encounter along the way, whether it's through the eyes of a fishing guide, a distillery owner, a mixologist, a historian, chef, or even a farmer. Each person we meet adds a rich layer to the narrative of culture and place. In this podcast, we embark on a transformative journey where the focus goes beyond the typical tourist attractions. Instead, we dive deep into the hearts and souls of the places we visit, uncovering the hidden gems and untold stories that make each destination truly unique. Join me as we venture off the beaten path, seeking authenticity, connection, and a deeper understanding of the world we inhabit. Together, we'll unravel the tapestry of cultures, one story at a time. So pack your curiosity, leave your preconceived notions behind, and let's embark on Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, where each episode promises to inspire, educate, and awaken the wanderlust within us all. Today is an exciting event for me. Not only is it the premiere of this podcast, but I chose a very special guest for my first interview. A travel writer like myself, Heide Brandes and I met on a trip to Lubbock, Texas, and have since traveled together on many adventures, including fishing off of a remote island in Alaska, spending a day with an oyster farmer in coastal Mississippi, and fly fishing in the mountains of Colorado. Heide is no stranger to the world of travel. She has traversed the globe, documenting her experiences and sharing her insights with fellow wanderers. Today, Heide brings us a captivating glimpse into the enchanting country of Ecuador. Heide is an award-winning journalist, travel writer, and editor who has spent her career in journalism. She specializes in adventure travel, cultural deep dives, destination travel, and quirky little-known topics. She has bylines in such publications as the Smithsonian, BBC Travel, National Geographic Explorer, Sierra Magazine, AARP, and numerous others. She is the president of the Society for Professional Journalists Oklahoma Pro Chapter and is a Lowell Thomas Award winner with the Society of American Travel Writers, as well as a multiple award winner in North American Travel Journalists Association. When not traveling and writing, Heide is an avid hiker, a medieval reenactor, a professional belly dancer, and kind of a quirky chick who lives in Oklahoma City. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Heide Brandes to Global Journeys with Jill Dutton. Heide Brandes, thank you for joining me today.
Well, I am absolutely thrilled to be here today, and I cannot wait to share stories with you because you and we have a lot of stories between us anyway.
We do. We have a lot of history. We met travel writing.
Yes, we did. And we've been fishing together. We've been road tripping together, and we even went and pulled up some crabs and oysters together.
Oh, that's right, in Oregon. That was wonderful. And I, whenever I think of you, it always comes to mind of when you just were so enthusiastic to go kayaking in Alabama with alligators, and everybody else was.
Oh gosh, yes.
And there was Heide. Let's go.
Yeah, all these alligators are like popping up and popping down and popping up and popping down.
Yes, you're fearless, so I appreciate that. But okay, before we jump into discussing Ecuador, tell me a little bit about your experiences as a travel writer. I know you've been a journalist for your entire career, so what was it that led you to travel writing specifically?
Well, as of this year, 11 years ago, I went full freelance as a journalist, but I was still doing kind of the hard news grind. I was the Oklahoma correspondent for Reuters news service. I was still doing a lot of reporting for area news organizations here. And it's a tough grind, girl. I mean, it's like churning out, 3 to 5 stories a day. And it's nothing good.
Right.
And about 2016, there was a series of just some really horrible stories I had to cover. And that's when I realized I had done my bit for King and Country in journalism. I was tired of writing in really horrible politics. I knew travel writing was a thing because I read it. I just had no idea how to get into it, but I was like, well, it can't be that different. I think my superpower in life is I'm too ignorant to know that something can't be done. So I just kind of throw my hands in the air and run towards it, like, I'm gonna do that.
Yes, exactly. That's great.
And that's sort of how, and then there were a lot of people along the way. Matt Payne in Oklahoma, Christy Eaton in Oklahoma, Spud Hilton out there in California, who kind of took me under their wing and introduced me to people and introduced me to opportunities. So I have a lot of people to thank for being on this travel writing journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so I find it's so much more rewarding now writing. I mean, going to amazing places and beautiful places and writing these amazing stories and these beautiful stories, and sometimes very hard stories too, because as you know, travel journalism is real journalism.
Mm-hmm.
It touches on everything from culture to in war, food, history, politics, business. I mean, it is real journalism.
Right, exactly. Well, let me see. Tell me about some of your favorite destinations, I guess, and why. I know I've just watching you,
Yeah. Oh
watching
gosh,
you
that's
this
the
year.
hardest question to answer, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah. I mean, because everybody comes up and asks you, "Where's your favorite place?" You're like, "All of them," and you sound like a dork saying that, but it's kind of true. But I particularly loved Turkey.
Yeah.
And it was a very short trip for a convention in Turkey, and just you can feel the weight of history in Turkey. It's like there are ghosts everywhere, and they brush up against you and whisper in your ear, and it's absolutely magical.
That sounds
And
like
I loved Northern Territory, Australia, because it kind of
Mhm.
reminded me of my homeland. It's like the Oklahoma and Texas of Australia. Except for I don't trust a rain puddle down there. There's a damn crocodile in every single bottle of water. But lately, and I look back at all the beautiful places, and I've been in amazingly beautiful places. Alaska really holds something in my heart.
Mhm.
Alaska and British Columbia. I just
Yeah.
love that wild, untamed last frontier. I mean, Alaska will kill you if you're not careful, but it is, I mean, there's vast swaths of land that there's still places no human have set foot in. And that just fascinates me. It's the most beautiful landscape I've ever seen too.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay, well, I have watched you personally grow, and even the last year, it just seems like you're exponentially just going to more and more fantastic, bucket list worthy places. Um, so I'm just curious, I guess, how has your traveling changed over the years? Are you traveling more? Are you going further away? You know what I mean?
Um, it's funny because I'm going to all these places you've always dreamt of going, Fiji and Antarctica.
Mhm.
That's life changing. It really is. But I think what it's done is also open my eyes to what's close at home. I mean,
Mhm.
some of my biggest articles this year have been based in Oklahoma. So I think it gives you a greater appreciation of some of the quote more mundane destinations that you miss.
Mhm.
But just kind of on a personal note, every time I travel, even if I'm not on a travel writing trip, if I'm just, taking a road trip with a girlfriend of mine or something, I'm always thinking, how can I sell it? How can I sell it?
Yes.
So you're always on vacation, but you're never on vacation.
Never on vacation.
Thing is writing shorter and shorter and shorter, and that's what so many outlets are wanting is those 300 to 800 word articles. And I know you're like me, we love to tell big deep stories with lots of spice on it.
Yes, and the people we meet.
And the people, it's always about the
Mhm.
people, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. Okay, so what is one important life lesson that you learned from traveling the world? And then we'll move on to Ecuador.
Oh gosh, one life lesson I have learned from traveling the world.
And it could be just what you had already said about the appreciation for your
Yeah,
locality.
no, I think the biggest life lesson, and I think it's a life lesson that everybody should have, is when it comes down to it, we're all the same all over the world. I
Mhm.
mean, everywhere you go, I don't care if it's Lebanon, Australia, Belize, or Tulsa, Oklahoma, people want to live in peace. They want to enjoy a good meal with friends. They want their kids to be happy and healthy. They they want to share their what's special about their home with you. It's not the people of the world that mucks everything up. It's damn politics. And, I think recognizing that, where souls are the same
Right.
in Africa as they are in Oklahoma City or Kansas City or,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I think that makes you a lot more tolerant and accepting of other people's differences at the same time, too.
Excellent. Well, I, for one, and I know I'm not alone, am a huge fan of your traveling and your writing.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
I mentioned in the introduction your awards, and you just never fail to impress me as far as, like I said, one of the first stories I read of yours was it Portugal, where the clay pot, and you wove this story of culture and place with this cooking, and yeah, I was fascinated. I mean, you really have a gift. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Okay,
much.
so well, thanks for all that, Heidi. And now I'm going to ask you some quick questions. We're going to kind of switch over to Ecuador. And so
Oh,
if you would,
Ecuador, one of my favorite places.
yay. So if you could just respond briefly, the questions are kind of designed just to give the listener a quick overview of the destination. So you ready?
Yeah, hit me.
Okay, what is Ecuador known for?
Ecuador is mainly known for the Galapagos Islands, which is on everybody's bucket list. And Charles Darwin, of course, made the Galapagos Islands famous because it kind of boosted his theory of evolution. But Ecuador also has the Andes Mountains, the Amazon rainforest, this amazing coast, and cacao or chocolate, as we know it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is really big down there. But it's actually a very very diverse country with so many different landscapes.
Oh, fantastic. And what was your favorite thing that you did in Ecuador?
Well, it's hard to beat the Galapagos
Mm-hmm.
because it's kind of a life-changing experience because you're seeing animals that have been unchanged for centuries. And but I loved hiking in Cotopaxi National Park, which is one of the highest and most stunning volcanoes, and it's still active um, down there.
Wow.
But also, there were some very unique experiences along the coast where I had one-on-one interactions with the people who lived there, and that was a real blessing.
I bet. I bet. And what was it that surprised you the most about Ecuador?
You know, believe it or not, flowers and bananas are the most um are the biggest industries in Ecuador.
Oh,
And yeah, and you're like flowers, yeah, but the roses in Ecuador are famous, and like 90% of the roses in Russia come from Ecuador,
that's
if you could
fascinating.
believe that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that and the variety of landscapes and weather. On the coast it was hot, muggy like coasts are, but in mountains it was downright chilly most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see it all. I mean, rainforests, mountains, oceans, plains, all of that is in Ecuador.
Fantastic. Okay, and last question, last rapid fire question.
Uh-huh.
Why should someone plan a trip to Ecuador in a
Oh, it's got
nutshell?
so much to offer, and even better, it's really kind of cheap and affordable,
Oh.
which is a big deal if you're like me and you're a budget traveler.
Mm-hmm.
And the Galapagos is rather expensive because it's a major tourism draw, but I encourage visitors to explore other parts of the country, like the Andes, like the rainforest and the coastal communities of Manta and Guayaquil. I mean, the people are friendly. You have no problem finding reputable guides because the government controls that. They have to have a license and training, and it's cheap. So, I
Yes,
mean, how can you beat that, right?
I agree. I agree. Okay, well, thanks for the quick look at Ecuador, and
Mhm.
let's dive in fully to the destination a little bit. Okay, so
Okay.
Ecuador, it's known for its diverse landscapes, including the Galapagos Islands and the Andes Mountains and the Amazon rainforest. I guess which of these areas did you have the opportunity to visit, and really what kind of stood out about each one to you the most?
Well, the last, do you want me to go from first trip to last trip or last trip to first trip?
Oh, I didn't realize you had more than one trip there. Okay.
I had two major trips to Ecuador in the last, I guess, year.
Oh, then you choose whatever stands out that you want to.
Okay, well, I'll go with the last one I did, which was in December, and it was to Ecuador's coastline, which, by the way, gets almost no visitors. Everybody comes to Ecuador, either goes to rainforest or to Galapagos or hikes in the Andes. But this coastal area, especially in the Manabí province of
Mhm.
Ecuador, is so rich
That's a great
and
tip.
relatively unexplored. And there was a great expedition cruise that I went on. It was Contiki Expeditions,
Hmm.
and they have a like a neo luxury yacht is what they call it, but it only has 9 rooms, so it's like
Oh.
maximum 18 people. So it was a very intimate experience.
Hmm.
And as opposed, in addition to being on a yacht, which was pretty, fancy pants, they also call this area the mini Galapagos, because you're going to find the blue-footed boobies. You're going to find the seals and the fur seals and a lot of that famous wildlife that you see in the Galapagos. There's this great place called the Pachochi. I'm probably butchering the pronunciation. It's Pacoche Marine Wildlife Refuge, which is near
Oh.
Manta.
Uh-huh.
And that was one of the best hikes I've ever done. I mean, we were in a rainforest and there were howler monkeys and these little fingernail sized frogs. And it's a marine cloud forest. But we also had some really incredible experiences with the people down there. Like I took part of in this like shamanistic ceremony.
Wow.
Um, in this little community called Aqua Blanca in the Mantalila National Park. And so this shaman took us into the ceremony where we stood in a circle. It was called a seven winds
Hmm.
ceremony. It wasn't religious, so people who are very religious don't have to worry that it's something paganistic. It's mainly kind of a thankfulness ceremony and
That's interesting.
asking you know the universe or God or whomever that you pray to bless you and the people you love. And it was one of the most like incredible experiences I had in Ecuador,
Oh, it
besides being
sounds
rubbed down.
powerful. Hmm.
It was. So, it was an expensive trip because, it's a private yacht, but if you got 18 people and you can split the cost of it, it's kind of an adventure nobody else had.
Right. And
So,
can you tell me
and
a little bit?
sometimes you look for that, it's like nobody else has done this, but I did.
Can you tell us a little bit about the yacht itself? What was the experience like then on board?
Oh yeah, well, it's called the MS Wyra, and that's Wayra, and it's a 128-foot luxury yacht.
Mm.
Like I said, it's only got 9 staterooms, but the staff was incredible. We had the best food, and the chef staff on this boat had local ingredients. They had vegetarian ingredients, and we always had seafood too. But they also have a topside bar, a hot tub, a sun deck, massage area. I mean, it's like glamping on the water.
Yes. What a great way to
Um,
explore.
and they have an onboard naturalist and guide.
Oh.
So you're learning so much more than if it was just a party boat, which it's
Hmm.
not. I mean, it is an expedition boat. But they also had a water club, which had a 3-story inflatable slide that went from the top of this yacht into the ocean.
Oh,
And it was kind of scary at first, but it was pretty fun.
I can't imagine you being scared.
Oh, and you're barefoot the entire time. You're not allowed to wear shoes on this boat, and you don't need to.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
That's
pretty cool.
interesting. That is interesting. Okay, well, tell me about an emotional moment you had during the trip. Did something happen or connection with someone that you made, or just a particular experience that was so overwhelming, or the scenery, on the Galapagos Islands?
The Galapagos itself, is life changing
Hmm.
because, even as a travel writer, I never imagined that I would have the opportunity to really go to the Galapagos. As you know, in our business, sometimes they're, it's they're trying to attract visitors,
Hmm.
and Galapagos has no problem attracting visitors. So it's like, well, I never be able to do this on my own. But yeah, when I was I remember this. We were off this little island. I think it was like Santa Cruz in the Galapagos, and we were snorkeling and swimming in this protected bay. And the wildlife is, so cut off from the rest of the world that they're not afraid of humans. I
Hmm.
mean, you're not supposed to get within 6 feet, but they come running up to you like little baby seals come flopping
Oh.
up to you with their big old, button eyes, and you're like, oh, oh no, you can't be close to me.
Hmm.
But I was snorkeling and looking around. I was looking for octopus, and I felt something brush my back, and the seal had come up under my arm, and it started circling, almost like brushing
Oh,
up against me and just playing with me in the water.
wow.
And it was one of those things. I mean, in the water, they own the water. You're not going to get away 6 feet away from them. They're
No
not going to let
kidding.
you. But it was that thing where it was playing with me. It was just as curious about me as I was about it. And that was, I'd never had that up close and personal experience with a wild animal,
Hmm.
and not
Hmm.
been, scared, except for like Oklahoma rattlesnake or something. You don't want to
Right,
have an up close
right.
personal experience with them. But a seal on the Galapagos,
Oh, that's amazing. That is wonderful. Let me see
yeah.
here. Sustainability and responsible tourism, they become increasingly important topics in the travel industry. Did you come across any initiatives or practices in Ecuador that promote these principles?
Absolutely. The first time I went to Ecuador was with Huttegruten
Hmm.
Expeditions, which is a Norwegian cruise line, and they're kind of known for their sustainability. In fact, last year they introduced the world's first hybrid powered ship.
Oh,
And as we speak right now, they have a plan to make a completely zero emission cruise ship by 2035.
oh, that's great.
And there are a lot of other cruise companies that are doing that. So my introduction to Ecuador was with Huttegruten Expeditions on the Santa Cruz 2 ship.
Hmm.
So everything was about sustainability. There was zero waste. We were, it was right at the tail end of the bad part of COVID. So of course we're all wearing masks because you don't want to get the animals sick. You didn't want to get any of the people who live there sick.
Hmm.
uh, Everything was, I mean, you were just very careful. You didn't touch the animals, but everybody was so passionate about sharing why these animals had to be protected and what they were doing to make sure the Galapagos stays as pristine as possible.
Yeah.
But even on the Kentucky cruise, it was the same way. I mean, there were places we went where they limit the amount of people who can be there at any given time,
Hmm.
so you don't overwhelm the ecosystem.
That's good.
Um, and of course, no single-use plastics.
Okay, well, probably last question, unless there's something that you thought of that I missed, but was just curious, maybe any just basic tips you have for someone who's wanting to visit Ecuador, how to get
Yeah.
there.
For one, if you're going to Quito, and Quito is absolutely one of my favorite cities, it's very, very high up in the mountains. Take altitude sickness pills.
Oh,
I
yes.
cannot stress that enough. They are prescription pills. You can ask your doctor and say, I need altitudes prescription pills. He'll know exactly what you're talking about. It will save your butt because there were other people on this trip, and boy, they were suffering from the altitude. And
Hmm.
it makes you sick. People have actually died from altitude sickness, though you're not that high in, you know,
Oh,
in
wow.
keto, but why be miserable when you don't have to be?
I
And
agree.
if you're gonna go along the coast into the Galapagos, probably a good idea to get some seasickness pills too.
Oh,
You know,
definitely. Definitely for the cruises. And I had someone ask me before this podcast that was curious about um for English speaking visitors is
yeah.
what's the language and
Um, there was a lot of language barriers because that's why it's so important to get quality guides. And the guides in Ecuador go through a government program. They actually have to go through schooling to be official guides, and they get licenses to do that. So if you're going to go to Ecuador, I mean, they're easy to find if you know, Google guides in Ecuador,
Mhm.
but you want one that's been trained. And most of
Okay.
them are, do speak English, and they're very, very knowledgeable, and they'll keep you safe, which is
Okay.
another big part of it, because Quito is a beautiful city, and I spent most of my time in what's called the old town, or the historic district.
Mhm.
That being said, there are, just like every other city in the world, there are some rough areas, and it's good to have somebody with you if you're in those rough areas. I mean, there's going to be pickpockets and people who try to, hustle you.
Oh,
They tend not to do that if you're with an official guide.
sure. That makes
So,
sense.
like, I don't speak a lick of Spanish except
Mhm.
for, dos cerveza, por
Yeah.
favor.
Uno más,
Yeah.
por favor.
Yeah. And then you're going to learn so much more than you would on your own,
That's
right?
true.
So
Mhm.
we went to, I mean, the equator runs right through Quito, right? And so there's this one place where they thought the equator was, and turns out it was like 2 miles away, but it was pretty close. And then they built another one, and um, so you're going to learn about all this history. But we went with a guide through Metropolitan Touring, which partnered with Hutagruten on this Galapagos trip.
Mhm.
And it was one of the most amazing city tours I had ever taken. And I stumbled across, well, he brought us to the shop where there are these ladies called curanderos, and they're
Oh.
spiritual healers.
Oh.
And I was able to go back and get a cleansing done. And girl, it's not basically the small little elderly Ecuadorian woman stripped me naked and
Uh-huh.
then rubbed a bundle of stinging nettles all over my naked skin.
Oh my goodness.
And as she's doing it, she's like muttering in Spanish, and her little granddaughter goes, "Oh, my mother says your energy is blocked and you have bad energy lines." I'm like, "Well, it's been 50 years since I've had a spiritual cleansing, so I imagine so."
Uh,
So the stinging nettles, I guess, bring out all the like bad juju that you've collected. And
okay.
then they rub you down with rose petals soaked in oil, which feels really nice after having stinging nettles all over your body.
Mhm.
But people in Quito do this like we go get massages. I mean, it's just like a way of life for them. Just, oh, it's been about 2 weeks. I need to go get my spirit cleansed.
How interesting.
Yeah, and they do it
And
to
and
bring in good
did you
luck.
notice a lightning? I mean, afterwards?
Yes, I did. I don't know whether it's just the adrenaline of having my body on fire because of stinging nettles,
Yes.
or just the sheer, adventure of it all. But I mean, I didn't get the full one doing. The full one is if I was sick and they were trying to figure out what's wrong with me, they would take a black guinea pig and rub it all over my body, or an egg. Then they
Oh.
would kill the guinea pig and open it up, or crack open the egg, and be able to say what's wrong with you.
Oh my gosh, that's so
So
interesting.
there's this very kind of spiritual, almost supernatural feel to Quito and
Mhm.
its people. And I'm sure it goes back centuries and centuries to the Mayans and the
Yeah.
Aztecs and the Incas.
Oh, that's
And
fascinating.
yeah. Oh, did you know that we can thank the Andes Mountains for potatoes?
I did
We
not
didn't
know
have
that.
potatoes until people went to the Andes, or yes, explorers went to the Andes and brought it back to Europe.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
all potatoes come from Ecuador,
well, thank
or
you.
well, from the Andes and Peru, and
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, finally, I'm gonna wrap it up. But so what's next for your adventures? I think you're taking off tomorrow.
yes, I'm going to the Yukon territories in Canada, um, which is kind of north of British Columbia. It's closer to Alaska than it is to Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very deep dive kind of indigenous experience trip we're taking. So we're starting out in Whitehorse, and we're learning about, and I think you would find this fascinating, Jill.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, there is a huge tie between the indigenous people of the Yukon in Canada and Caribbean, when slavery was horribly still going on. They would bring slaves in from the Caribbean. So now you've got this fusion of indigenous and Caribbean cuisine up there. And they're bringing that back and bringing it more mainstream, which I know that's right up your alley, because you always write about the history of food, and you do it so well.
Oh, you're so kind. I'm just fascinated by food. I like to eat.
Well, you definitely need to go on this trip. And
yes.
I'm going to sing your praises because, well, you deserve it.
Well, wonderful. And thank you. Thank you. And I'm going to share your website and your Instagram on at the end of this. But if you would just, how can listeners follow your travels? Would it be Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram. It's at Heide Wright. And of course, my name Heide is spelled weird. So it's Heide. Or, visit my website at HeideBrandes.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Heide. I'm just honored that you were the first for the premiere episode of Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, and I just can't wait to see where you go next.
Thank you for having me. I really am very, very honored to be on your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
It's great.
Okay. Have a great trip. As we come to the end of our inaugural episode of Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, I can't help but feel inspired by the incredible travel experiences shared by our guest, Heide Brandes, during her captivating trip to Ecuador. Exploring the rich cultural heritage, breathtaking landscapes, and warm hospitality of this enchanting country truly opened our eyes to the wonders that await us on our own global journeys. Heide's stories serve as a reminder that travel is not merely about crossing destinations off our bucket lists. It's about immersing ourselves in the unfamiliar, embracing new perspectives, and forging meaningful connections with people and places around the world. Each adventure becomes a tapestry of memories that shape our understanding of the diverse tapestry of humanity. As we embark on this exciting podcast journey together, I invite you, our incredible audience, to be a part of it. Share your own travel stories, insights, and recommendations with us. Whether you have a hidden gem in your hometown or a dream destination that has captured your imagination, we want to hear from you. Your suggestions will help us shape the future episodes of Global Journeys, guiding us toward extraordinary locations and experiences that deserve a spotlight. Remember, this podcast is not just about the host or the guests. It's about the collective exploration and discovery that unites all of us as wanderers in this vast world. So reach out to us through our website, social media channels, or email, and let your voice be heard. In our next episode of Global Journeys with Jill Dutton, we venture into the culinary world of the Sullivan Catskills, where flavors are intertwined with a deep sense of locality. Join me as I sit down with a remarkable chef who has taken the farm-to-table concept to new heights. Prepare your taste buds for an extraordinary culinary adventure as we explore the art of pasta making with a twist. Our guest, Bob Eckert, has forged a unique culinary path, sourcing New York wheat exclusively for his pasta creations at his Roscoe, New York restaurant, Northern Farmhouse Pasta. But that's not all. This passionate advocate for sustainable cuisine takes it a step further by foraging for local ingredients, ensuring that every bite is an authentic and truly local experience. We'll delve into the secrets behind his innovative approach to cooking, the inspiration he draws from the bountiful natural resources of the Sullivan Catskills, and the stories that have shaped his culinary journey. But that's not all. Bob will also give us an insider's look at the Sullivan Catskills, what to do, see, and experience while there. So get ready to be captivated by the flavors, traditions, and unyielding passion that drive this remarkable chef. Mark your calendars and join us for an episode that will tantalize your taste buds and inspire you to embrace the rich tapestry of flavors that can be discovered in unexpected places. Until then, keep your appetite curious and your senses attuned to the vibrant world of local cuisine. Stay tuned for the next episode of Global Journeys with Jill Dutton. Thank you for joining us on this inaugural episode of Global Journeys with Jill Dutton. Until next time, may your travels be filled with endless curiosity, open-hearted encounters, and transformative adventures. Safe travels, fellow explorers, and keep wandering.